All right, today we're diving into a really fascinating and honestly, a pretty intense ancient Buddhist text called the Sutra on the Four Hells. It's got this incredibly powerful lesson about cause and effect, the consequences of our actions. And trust me, it does not pull any punches. The imagery is vivid and the message is super direct. It really all kicks off with this universal question that the text just tackles head on. What is the true price of doing something harmful? And we're not talking about, legal fees or what your friends might think. This is about the cosmic cause and effect, you reap what you sow kind of price. And here's the thing. This isn't some dry philosophical text. Nope. The sutra presents this as a direct teaching from the Buddha himself. He's talking to his followers in a park in Śrāvastī, so it's meant to feel really practical, almost like urgent advice for living. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's see exactly how the Buddha lays out this warning about what the text calls the Four Great Hells. The original term is Niraya, for anyone curious. So we're going to follow the sutra's own structure here. We'll look at the case of Tissa, then the slanderer Kokālika, the crimes of Jetavana, and the corrupter Makali. And we'll wrap it all up with a big takeaway, the fire of karma. You'll see how each case builds on the last, escalating in severity. So what's really fascinating is how the sutra sets this up right away. It gives us this really clear visual way to measure the suffering. It's not abstract at all. Instead, it's the height of the flames shooting out of each person's body. The taller the flame, well, the bigger the karmic problem. All right, so our first case study is a monk named Tissa. And his transgression might seem kind of simple on the surface, but as we'll see, the consequences are anything but. Okay, so what did he do? He stopped the other monks from eating for just one day, and the punishment? Flames shoot out of his body at 20 elbows high. The key thing to notice here is that direct link. He denied them physical nourishment, so his own physical body is consumed by fire. It's this perfect, almost poetic symmetry between the action and the reaction. And to really hammer home just how intense this is, the text uses this just staggering imagery. It says you could pour 20 great seas, that's oceans, of water on him and it wouldn't do a thing. It wouldn't even begin to put out the flames. Yeah, it's just like trying to put out a volcano with a squirt gun. The text says it's like putting 20 drops of water on molten copper. The water just vanishes instantly. It's a brilliant way to show that any relief is totally futile. The karmic consequence is absolute and unstoppable. Okay, so from there, we move on to the next case. This is a monk named Kokālika, and his crime takes us from the physical world into the world of words. So Kokālika's big mistake was slandering two of the Buddha's most respected disciples, Śāriputra and Mahāmaudgalyāyana. He was basically poisoning their reputations with lies. It's a total attack on their character. And what happens? Well, the flames get bigger, leaping from 20 to 30 elbows high. And you guessed it, the scale of the consequence just ratchets up right alongside it. Now we're at 30 great seas of water being totally useless against the flames. It's a direct, measurable increase in the karmic bill that's come due. The analogy gets more intense too. It's not just molten copper anymore. Now it's like putting 30 drops of water on copper that's been melted by the heat of 2 suns. I mean, can you even imagine? The imagery is just designed to convey a level of suffering that's almost beyond what we can wrap our heads around. All right, now we get to a really famous, or maybe I should say infamous figure in Buddha's stories, Jetavana. He was actually the Buddha's own cousin, and his crimes, well, they strike right at the heart of everything. I mean, this guy did it all. He tried to kill the Buddha, he murdered a nun, and he tried to split the whole monastic community apart. This is a direct assault on the teacher, the teachings, and the community. And the punishment, of course, reflects that gravity. The flames now reach a staggering 40 elbows high. And yep, you see the pattern. As the crimes get worse, the consequence just climbs to an even more unimaginable scale. Now it's 40 great seas of water that are completely powerless to stop the fire. And the analogy keeps building right along with it. The heat isn't from 1 sun or 2. Now it's like copper being melted by 3 suns. Every single step up is so precise, so purposeful. It's all meant to emphasize just how deep and intense his karmic consequence really is. Okay, this brings us to our final and most severe case. This is the teacher, Makali. And according to this text, What he did was the most damaging act of them all. Worse than depriving people of food, worse than slander, worse than even trying to kill the Buddha.
So what was his sin? He taught false views to millions of people, completely corrupting their understanding of reality. And look at that punishment. The flames now erupt 60 elbows high. This is the crucial point of the whole text. The worst sin isn't physical harm or slander. It's poisoning the minds of countless people with misinformation.
This is it. This is the absolute peak of suffering in the sutra, a punishment so incredibly severe that 60 great seas can't even touch it. It represents the massive, widespread consequence of leading huge numbers of people away from the truth. And that final analogy, man, it just drives it all home. We're now at copper melted by the heat of 4 suns. It's the sutra's ultimate way of saying that the consequence for this kind of action is just completely and totally inescapable and absolutely overwhelming. So, okay, we've gone through all these really dramatic, super intense images. What's the takeaway? What does this escalating pattern of crime and punishment really teach us? What's the core message? Well, the lesson seems to be this really clear hierarchy of harm. It's all about the reach of your actions. Harming the community's body, like Tissa did, is one level. Harming reputations through slander, like Kokālika, that's worse. Harming the enlightened and the community's unity, like Jetavana, even worse. But the most harmful act of all? Corrupting the minds of countless others, like Macaulay did. The consequence is tied directly to its reach. So, I want to leave you with this thought. This entire sutra uses this incredibly powerful imagery to describe the unstoppable, overwhelming consequences of negative acts. But what does that imply about the power of positive ones, right? If the karmic fire from a harmful deed is that powerful, just imagine how powerful, how unstoppable the light from a truly good one must be.